Behind the laughter and family bonds that made Good Times a television classic, there was a whole other story unfolding off camera. Jimmie Walker, known to fans as the beloved JJ, recently revealed that the cast dynamic wasn't as close as it seemed, with tensions, silence, and behind-the-scenes drama that threatened to unravel the show's success. Here's what really went down when the cameras weren't rolling. Despite the close-knit family dynamic portrayed on screen, the relationships between the Good Times cast members were surprisingly distant behind the scenes. Jimmie Walker, who played JJ, revealed that he rarely spoke with his co-stars, Esther Rolle, Florida Evans, and John Amos, James Evans Sr., outside of filming. Walker admitted that he never had a personal conversation with Esther Rolle throughout the show's run and didn't even have her phone number. He described a similar dynamic with John Amos, noting that while they have a better relationship now, they were never friends during the height of the show's popularity. Any interactions between the cast occurred strictly on set, with little to no bonding off camera. The warm family bond portrayed on Good Times masked a much different reality off camera, where the cast's interactions were minimal and formal. Jimmie Walker, JJ, described the working environment as cold, admitting that he never had an actual conversation with Esther Rolle, Florida Evans, throughout the show's entire run. Walker noted that he didn't have her phone number and wouldn't have been able to reach out to her, even if needed. The same was true with John Amos, James Evans Sr., with whom he rarely spoke. Walker shared that their conversations were limited to what was necessary for the scenes, and they never socialized or connected outside of the set. While Jimmie and John have a more cordial relationship today, their off-screen dynamic during the show's heyday was anything but friendly. Jimmie Walker believed that Good Times had the potential to last longer than it did, but internal conflicts among the cast members contributed to its early end. He felt that some of his co-stars, particularly Esther Rolle and John Amos, did not fully appreciate the value of being on a successful, groundbreaking show. According to Jimmie, the actors often became upset whenever disagreements arose, making it difficult to maintain a positive environment on set. He described the situation as killing the goose that laid the golden egg, indicating that the cast's dissatisfaction and tensions ultimately undermined the show's potential. Walker specifically pointed out that John Amos's dissatisfaction with the show led to frequent clashes with the production team. He believed that Amos's values and vision for the show conflicted with the direction it was taking, which strained relationships behind the scenes. Despite his criticisms, Jimmie acknowledged Amos's talent as an actor and emphasized that his issues were specific to Good Times, as he had not experienced such conflicts on other projects. After 3 seasons, these tensions led to John Amos's dismissal from the show, which continued without him. Jimmie believed that with more unity and appreciation among the cast, Good Times could have enjoyed a longer run. John Amos, who played James Evans Sr., often found himself at odds with the direction Good Times was taking. According to Jimmie Walker, Amos's dissatisfaction with the show's content and themes created friction between him and the production team. He was particularly concerned about the show's portrayal of black families and wanted to maintain a certain level of dignity and realism in the storytelling. This led to frequent disagreements with the writers and producers, including Good Times creator Norman Lear. Jimmie described Amos as a solid actor whose issues were rooted not in his ability, but in his discontent with the show's approach. He felt that Amos believed the comedy sometimes undermined the more serious messages the show could convey. These creative differences contributed to a strained working relationship between Amos and other cast members, as well as the production staff. Despite his challenges with the show, Jimmie emphasized that Amos had never caused similar problems on other sets, suggesting that the nature of Good Times clashed with his personal values and vision. Ultimately, these tensions came to a head, and after 3 seasons, John Amos was let go from the show. Although the series continued without him, Jimmie believed that Amos's commitment to maintaining the integrity of the show's message was one of the factors that made their off-screen relationship so strained during the height of Good Times. Jimmie Walker had high regard for Bernadette Stanis, who played Thelma Evans on Good Times. He saw her as a talented actress with a unique charm that could have propelled her further in the entertainment industry. Jimmie felt that Bernadette had a special appeal, combining beauty, grace, and talent, which he believed could have been leveraged more effectively for broader opportunities beyond the show. However, Walker mentioned that his attempts to offer suggestions to help Bernadette capitalize on her potential were met with resistance from the show's producers, particularly Norman Lear and co-star John Amos. Jimmie recalled that when he proposed ideas that might have given Bernadette a more glamorous role or image, he was immediately shot down. The producers pushed back, saying that such ideas were inappropriate and did not align with how they wanted Bernadette's character to be portrayed. Jimmie described how they strongly defended her and made it clear that they wanted to maintain a certain image for her character, Thelma, as a wholesome and respectable young woman. Despite these missed opportunities, Jimmie still believed that Bernadette Stanis had the potential to achieve greater stardom. He recognized her as a standout talent among the cast and felt that if things had gone differently, she could have become a bigger name in Hollywood. While her time on Good Times helped establish her as a beloved figure in television, Walker saw untapped opportunities for her to explore roles that might have further showcased her talents and range. As Good Times progressed, the dynamic of the show began to shift with the introduction of new characters, especially after the departure of John Amos and the diminished presence of Esther Rolle. To fill the gap and keep the storyline engaging, the writers brought in new recurring actors like Ben Powers and a young Janet Jackson, who played Penny, an abused child taken in by the Evans' neighbor, Willona, played by Jeanette Dubois. Esther Rolle, who played Florida Evans, had her own vision for Good Times, one that aligned closely with John Amos's. She wanted the show to focus on the struggles and strength of the Evans family as a way to challenge stereotypes and present a dignified image of Black life in America. Rolle was vocal about her concerns when she felt the show deviated from this purpose, particularly when the focus turned more heavily to JJ's character and his catchphrases. Rolle's commitment to her vision sometimes put her at odds with the direction the show was taking, but like Amos, her differences with Walker did not translate into open hostility. Instead, it created a sort of quiet separation. Walker described his dynamic with Rolle as one where mutual respect existed, but there was no effort to bridge the gap between their different outlooks on the show and what they hoped to achieve through it. Rolle's seriousness and dedication to the show's message often kept her apart from lighter interactions on set, contributing to a sense of isolation in the work environment. Jimmie Walker revealed that Janet Jackson's character, Penny, was introduced largely due to behind-the-scenes tension. He shared that Jeanette Dubois, who played the vibrant and strong-willed Willona, felt that her character wasn't getting enough time in the spotlight. After frequent complaints about her limited role, the producers decided to create the character of Penny to give Willona a more substantial storyline, which in turn gave Jeanette more screen time and allowed her character to explore a new maternal role. According to Jimmie, if it hadn't been for Jeanette Dubois' persistent push for more character development, Janet Jackson might never have joined the show. Her role as Penny became a key part of later seasons, offering more depth to Willona's character and helping to maintain audience interest after the Evans family's original dynamic began to change. Penny's introduction not only gave Jeanette a new arc, but also provided Janet Jackson an early platform to showcase her talent, paving the way for her future success in entertainment. In Walker's description, the cast of Good Times functioned like a well-oiled machine while the cameras were rolling, with everyone playing their parts to perfection. However, when the director called cut, they each returned to their own worlds. There were no casual hangouts, no friendly dinners after filming, and no deep conversations. Instead, each actor maintained a level of professional distance, coming together only when necessary to bring the Evans family to life for the audience. Walker's portrayal of the on-set dynamic contrasts sharply with the close family bonds that defined the show's narrative. For many fans, the authenticity of the Evans family's interactions made it seem as though the actors must have been close off camera as well. However, the reality was a set where personal relationships were secondary to the work, and the bonds viewers perceived were largely an illusion created for the screen. As time has passed, Walker has reflected on these relationships with a sense of acceptance. He has acknowledged that while it might have been nice to have a closer bond with his co-stars, the distance did not diminish the quality of the work they produced together. He has also noted that in later years, he has had more friendly interactions with John Amos, suggesting that the tensions and distance they felt during the filming of Good Times softened with time and perspective. Walker's candid reflections offer a glimpse into the challenges of working on a show where different visions for its direction and purpose could create barriers between cast members. The professionalism that each actor brought to their role allowed them to deliver a beloved series that left a lasting impact on television history. However, the off-screen relationships tell a more complex story, one where respect and professionalism did not necessarily translate into friendship. Understanding the off-camera dynamics of Good Times adds depth to the legacy of the show. It highlights the dedication of the cast to their roles, even when personal bonds were lacking. Esther Rolle and John Amos's commitment to portraying a strong, realistic black family set a tone that resonated with audiences, even as they dealt with frustrations about the show's direction. Jimmie Walker's popularity as Jay brought a comedic energy that made the show a hit, even if it occasionally led to creative tensions. In the end, the professional but distant relationships among the cast of Good Times did not detract from the groundbreaking nature of the show. Instead, they underscore the complexities behind the scenes of a sitcom that, despite its internal challenges, managed to become a cultural touchstone. While the Evans family may not have been as tight-knit off-camera as they were on-screen, their ability to work together for the sake of the show speaks to the dedication each brought to their roles, creating a legacy that still resonates with fans today.